It seems that families continue to use infertility as an excuse to enable the worst behavior in people. G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and get ready for some interesting stories. Let's go. Am I the asshole for telling my sister that her infertility is not my problem? I'm 18 female and 34 weeks pregnant. My sister is 35 female and suffers with infertility. She has no kids and is starting to look into adoption. When I told her I was pregnant, she immediately started going crazy. She said it's not fair, that I'm abusing my fertility and that I should give my baby up because I have a life to live. It's been like this the entire pregnancy. Most recently, she's started asking me if I want to try a co-parenting relationship with her where I give her my baby 2 days of the week and make her a legal custodian. I said no to this one too. She keeps asking me to adopt my baby to her and it's just not happening. She came over for brunch this morning and brought up the idea of her adopting a few baby I am very much prepared for. This time I snapped at her and said, I don't understand what it's like not to be able to have children, but your infertility is not my problem to solve, and I'm not giving you my child, please don't push me. Everyone in the room thinks that I'm the asshole for this, and my parents are giving me the cold shoulder for being so insensitive. So am I the asshole? No, your sister is being absolutely ridiculous in this situation. There is no reasonable explanation for her actions, there is no reason for you to trust her, and there is no reason that you should allow her to have any interaction with your baby after all of this. You would be the asshole if you allowed her to be in contact with this child without resolving any of these issues, but as it stands currently, not the asshole. Now in the comments, Sleepy Feline says, not the asshole. Do not let your sister babysit. Do not leave her alone with your child. 1 million times this. This is a true crime doc waiting to happen. I think there was an episode like this of Twisted Sisters on Discovery ID. There was. She found out her sister was pregnant, lied to her husband that she was pregnant too, faked her entire pregnancy, gave birth alone, quote-unquote, a few days after her sister, then took her sister and newborn baby on a drive, killed her sister with a rock to the head, and pushed her over a bridge. She took the baby home and her husband returned, who then called the police when he realized the baby looked an awful lot like her sister's. She had blood on her and was not acting normal. All out of F says, not the asshole, because how many times do you have to say no? Tell her to accept the no and move on, because if she doesn't, then you're done talking to her until she does. Your parents are trying to comfort her, but not realizing they're just not acting right towards you. Talk to them. Tell them you shouldn't have to keep hearing it from her over and over again. And congratulations on your baby. Edit to add, I agree with others who have said to please do not ever leave your baby with your sister. She sounds desperate enough to take the baby and run. Yeah, no. You're not an asshole for not giving away your child. How the hell does that even sound? How does this even cross someone's mind? This is so crazy to the point that it sounds a little bit unreal. There's a reason infertility clinics may require counseling as part of using their services. Some even have counselors on staff. Dealing with infertility sucks and can lead to anger, resentment, and even irrational thinking. And look, if she's having this kind of reaction with your pregnancy, it's entirely likely that any adoption agency she talks to will not clear her. Adoptions fall through all the time. They wouldn't want to risk her hurting the baby or birth mum or running off with the baby if she had one lined up that fell through. Honestly, go no contact with her and your family for the sake of both yourself and your child. At best, this situation is unhealthy. At worst, it is extremely dangerous. Women like this have literally killed for children. And our next post is by user FattyPatty26, titled, Am I the asshole for making dinner awkward when my friend served me up less food because I'm fat? This is not a skinny bad fat good scenario, so save those comments. I'm fat and happy. I know this really upsets people, but I'm proud overcoming an eating disorder, so I couldn't give a crap. I go to the gym 4 times a week and eat well mostly, but I don't deprive myself. If I want KFC, I'm going to eat it. My goal isn't to lose weight, but build my strength and fitness. If weight loss comes naturally, then that's fine, but I don't strive for it. I'm fit and can keep up with my friends when we go hiking, but I'm obviously bigger than them. And when I first gained weight, it was a struggle to be included in activities like hiking, because they never invited me, but I proved myself over time. We catch up for monthly dinners, provided there's no cases in our state. One of my friends made a beautiful paella and fixed the plates up in the kitchen before she brought them out, along with garlic bread. When she brought out mine, she said, "I dished you up a little bit less because of all the carbs," in front of everybody. And it confused me because I don't watch carbs, because it triggers my ED behavior. I looked at the dish and I had about half the portion of what my friend next to me had, and only one slice of garlic bread when the others had 3 pieces. I thanked her of thinking of me, but told her that I don't watch carbs so I can have a full portion, and that I was excited to try the food because it looked great. She asked if I thought I should eat a full meal because I was looking good lately, which she meant losing weight, and she didn't want me to ruin my progress. I promised her that I would be happy with a regular serve, and this would not have been an issue if the portions were only slightly different. But it was an entree versus main-size meal kind of difference. When she brought out my plate again, I thanked her and we left it. After that, the vibe was weird, but we still had fun. I was the last to leave as I helped my friend clean up and thanked her again for the meal. While we were washing the dishes, she mentioned that she was sorry and that she didn't want to be the reason I put it back on, meaning weight. I replied that it wouldn't be the end of the world if I did, and that I felt awkward that she mentioned the carb thing in front of a table of 7. She then turned it on me and said that I made her feel awkward for saying something about the size difference and that I put a damper on the night. And edit, somebody brought to my attention that entree and main are the same thing to some people. Where I'm from, an entree is something like a bread roll or a small soup that you eat before the main meal. Yeah, I'm gonna go with she's the asshole in this situation. I understand her concern for your health and your diet, but ultimately it's not her decision to make. She knew what she was doing, so this was malicious and this did have intent. That is kind of evil from her. She was looking to shame you in front of everyone else for your weight and the fact that she doesn't agree with your diet. That is not her place to be doing that in front of everyone. That is not friendly behavior. She should have asked you, she knows she should have asked you, yet she decides to jump the gun to embarrass you. I wouldn't put up with that, but I'm gonna go with not the asshole in this instance. Now in the comments, Webby Vanderquack says, not the asshole. She made it awkward, not you. If she really was under the impression that you'd want a much smaller portion, she should have brought the pan of paella out and let people help themselves. This is the best way. Just let adults decide for themselves. Seriously, unless all the plates looked exactly the same, I would never assume that I should serve other people their portions. What if someone wants more vegetables and less rice, or vice versa? And the fact that she practically announced, "I'm giving you less food than everyone because you're fat," makes her the asshole. Like she couldn't even just put it in front of the OP. She had to make a big deal about it in front of everyone. And as someone who cooks paella quite frequently, I'd say that if someone wants more vegetables and less rice, paella is not the dish for them. It's all cooked together in the one pan, and rooting around to pick out the bits that you want would be extremely rude. Tally Bob says, not the asshole. Your friend was rude as hell. It would be one thing if she spoke to you in private, still rude but much less so, but in front of everyone like that? Not cool. Right? Friend is an asshole. How hard is it to have a conversation, especially since she was straight up okay embarrassing you in front of everyone? Yeah, that's rude in the way that hitting someone with your car is rude. If OP was this upfront with us about her medical history, I have to imagine her friend knows as well. Eating disorders don't mess around, and a good friend would make an effort to be conscientious about them. The kindest explanation I have for why this friend might be so oblivious, controlling, and cruel is that she has one herself. And really, OP limited the awkwardness, if anything. It would have been her prerogative to say, actually, that's a trigger for my eating disorder. But she decided to be discreet. Our next post is by user GangThrow44, titled, "Am I the asshole for asking a disabled person for their seat on the bus?" For context, I'm currently 8 months pregnant. Normally I drive, but due to the layout of the city I was in this week, it made more sense for me to take the bus. When I got on the bus, it was very full, and all the seats were taken, including the priority seating at the front. There were 2 rows of priority seats, with the first row occupied by 2 elderly men and the second by 2 teenagers/early 20s girls, who didn't look visibly disabled. Seeing this, I asked the girls if they would let me sit down. Not rudely, to be clear, just a normal, "Excuse me, would you mind letting me sit?" One of the girls took offense to my question and snapped, "Having someone come in you was your choice. My disability isn't. You can stand." I was pretty taken aback, and somebody else let me sit in their seat, but the man I ended up next to, who had heard the interaction, scolded me by saying I shouldn't have assumed that someone was sitting in the priority seats didn't deserve to be there. Am I the asshole for requesting a seat on the bus? I get that we've seen this time and time again on r/entitled parents, r/entitled people, where someone makes the assumption that the person sitting in the disabled seating doesn't look disabled, and with her just straight away just going, "It's your fault you got pregnant, you shouldn't have got pregnant if you wanted to sit down, this is your fault, asshole." That's not something you just say to someone. That's entirely ridiculous. That's like getting kicked off the bus kind of behavior right there. So OP is absolutely not the asshole for making an assumption in this case. Those people are just the scum of the earth for saying that to a pregnant person. Absolutely disgusting and disrespectful behavior, not the asshole OP. You didn't deserve that. Now in the comments, Evil Queen 9 says, "Not the asshole. I'm surprised at the number of you're the assholes here. Humans are bound to make mistakes, and how could OP have known what kind of invisible disability the girl had? You people are cruel. It's not like OP demanded for the seat. She asked politely. There could have been the possibility that the girl was not disabled and just took the seat because there was no other seat available on the bus. I would like to add that any kind of visible or invisible disability doesn't justify a person to be unnecessarily rude to other people. For me, the teenage girl was the asshole for snapping at the woman and being disrespectful. It is easy to sympathize with invisibly disabled people to have to explain themselves, which I agree can be frustrating. But why do people point fingers at pregnant women that it's their fault or responsibility that they are pregnant? Also, why should pregnant women have to ask for seats? Aren't there decent or healthy people anymore who know that the bus is full and would give up their seat before her even asking? And also Callie replies, "Yes, but people with invisible disabilities are exhausted by people regularly assuming that they're exploiting resources for disabled people. The girl shouldn't have reacted the way she did, but OP should have asked someone in the normal section of the bus for a seat, and not someone who she had no reason to assume isn't disabled. I have an invisible disability, and I just politely explained that. There's no need to be rude to a pregnant person." I think though, as a disabled person, the priority seats are also for pregnant people. And whilst I appreciate that invisibly disabled people use the seats and are absolutely entitled to do so, abled people do take the seats, and if you are not disabled, I can imagine it's hard to tell the difference. For example, I get on a bus with my stick and someone sat in the priority seat. Yes, I notice that the woman immediately looks away and out the window and pretends not to see me. Generally speaking, an invisibly disabled person wouldn't do that. I think that when you're of a marginalization, you learn to spot people who are also. Obviously, this isn't 100% accurate, but I can imagine if you were not disabled, you don't really learn the telltale signs. I absolutely see both sides, and I think the real asshole is the public transport system that assumes they need so little priority seats. Our next post is by user Am I the Asshole Not an Ambulance? Titled, "Am I the asshole for not giving a kid, who I don't know, a ride to the hospital after he broke his leg?" This happened yesterday, but I, 28 male, was at my local mall doing shopping. When I finished up, I went out to my car. I parked in an above-ground parking building. When I got to my car, I noted that there was a bunch of kids. I'd say around 14 to 16 years old, rough guess since I didn't bother asking, and they were skateboarding and just doing whatever kids do really. Then suddenly, I heard a blood-curdling scream, and I look over and I see a kid on the ground holding his leg. So I walk over to see if everything was okay, and to say the least, everything was not okay. The kid broke his leg in a bad way. I'm not sure how, as I wasn't really paying them any attention, but it was for sure broken. Everyone was freaking out, and I said I'll call the ambulance, which just made the kid cry harder, saying something along the lines of, "My parents are going to kill me." His friends were saying that I should just give him a ride to the hospital, as it was only 3 blocks away. I thought for a moment and opted to still call for an ambulance. I called the ambulance and they showed up like 5 minutes later. The whole time, everyone was still trying to convince me to just drive him. And I stayed firm on nope, not gonna happen, the ambulance is on the way. After the kid was put into the ambulance and I gave my statement to the police, because the police show up with ambulances to make sure they have all the needed information, the kids were all still complaining that I could have just given him a ride to the hospital instead of making his parents go into debt. Man, I think they watch too much American TV because we're in Canada. No one goes into debt for an ambulance ride here. Last time I had to get an ambulance to the hospital, it cost me like $50. Thank you, Canadian healthcare. Anyways, later when I came home, I was telling my girlfriend about what went down, and she called me an asshole too because you should have just done the right thing. The kid was hurt and you have a car. And I said back, and ambulances are a thing, and I'm a total stranger to this kid. And like, what would have happened if the kid somehow got more hurt while in my car? I'm not trying to catch a case. I wanted some outside perspective. Am I the asshole for not giving the kid a ride to the hospital? Yeah, look, any reasonable human being is going to agree with you in this circumstance. This is a group of kids who don't have much or any real-life experience or knowledge to deal with circumstances like this. It's very apparent that American media has helped form an opinion that ambulances suck, they're going to put you into a lifetime of debt, which is absolutely not the case in Canada. And you, being much older and having the ability to think critically in situations like this because you're not freaking out like they are, understand that if you take this injured kid into your car, you may well be reported hurting this child and much worse. That is so much responsibility that is not your job to take on and you shouldn't be expected to. I would just ignore everything these kids are doing and go through the proper channels, like you did. I wouldn't feel bad about it and I understand why you're questioning your decisions here. Rest assured, I agree with your actions here, and I'm gonna say not the asshole. Now in the comments, Seeker131313 says, not the asshole. Taking charge of an unknown, vulnerable minor who you don't know without their parents' consent. Nope, nope, nope. You did the right thing. Yes, if anyone should be concerned about going into debt here, it is OP. Moving someone with a severe break can cause further damage if you don't have medical training. Driving away with a minor stranger in your car is obviously also a legal minefield. If ambulances didn't exist and no adults the kid knew were reachable, I would have driven him, but ambulances do exist, so... This ad replies to that. I'm a nurse and I would not touch a kid with such an injury. I would have done exactly what you did. It could be that the kid was more worried about getting in trouble with his parents because maybe he was supposed to be home doing chores or whatever. Not the asshole. Lol, exactly. I was an ocean lifeguard for many years and know a lot more about what not to do with certain injuries than what to do other than call an EMT or a doctor. We both know enough and have enough medical training to know we're not qualified to move this kid since he's not in immediate danger. Sounds like we also both know the teenagers well enough to not be swayed by their foolishness. The only reason I would ever move someone with a severe break would be a C-spine injury out in the surf that would quickly turn into a drowning without intervention. I was extensively trained in exactly how to do that one thing to minimize the risk of paralysis through special arm holds and lifting techniques. I have no training with moving broken-legged people, and I know I could screw them up if I did do it wrong. I also know they're probably not in immediate danger of death unless it was an open fracture, they're bleeding profusely, and I couldn't stop the bleeding with pressure and elevation, etc. In that case, I might have a tourniquet, but still wait for an EMT unless their pulse was fading. I guess if my training told me they were in immediate danger of dying and an ambulance was far, far away, I'd move them and drive them straight to the ER. But it would have to be extreme for me to risk that. And Stinky Pickle 13 says, definitely not the asshole. Liability if you took him. You made the smart move. And OP replies, that's what I was thinking. Like, the kid could have been hurt even more, and no way I want to deal with that. Legally in the US, and likely similar in Canada, it would work like this. You would likely be protected by the Good Samaritan laws by acting as a rescuer, but if you put that kid in your car and then get in an accident, by, let's say, in the intensity of the moment and checking on the kid in your rearview mirror, you run a red and boom, now you've potentially incurred liability. It just isn't worth the risk. You assessed the situation and called the services that were designed to handle this, and that too in a universal healthcare jurisdiction. There was nothing asshole-ish about your response. I'd be kind of annoyed at your girlfriend. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat in the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.